China just did what every other country said was decades away. A fully autonomous flying taxi, no pilot, no runway, no manual controls, is already carrying real passengers in real Chinese cities right now. It is commercially certified and has completed over 40,000 test flights. And nobody outside China is talking about how big this actually is. This isn't a prototype sitting in a lab somewhere. This isn't a concept video with a coming in 2030 disclaimer at the bottom. A two-seat electric pod that lifts off vertically, flies itself across a city at 90 kilometers per hour, and lands itself completely on its own. The world's first. No other country has done it. Not the United States, not Germany, not Japan. China got there first, and it did it years ahead of what most aviation experts thought was even remotely possible. China didn't just build a flying car. It certified one, commercialized it, and plugged it into an entirely new sector of its economy. One that the government is officially backing with policy, money, and a very ambitious plan. The low-altitude economy, as they call it, is projected to be worth 3.5 trillion yuan by 2035. That's not a startup dream. That's a national strategy. If this is already surprising you, stick around, because it gets a lot bigger. And if you enjoy stories like this, hit like and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. So, how exactly did they pull this off, and what does the vehicle actually look like up close? Let's get into it. A vehicle that broke all the rules. Let's start with the machine itself, because it is genuinely unlike anything most people have seen outside of a video game. The EHang EH216S looks like someone took a giant drone and decided to make it comfortable enough for two people. It has 16 propellers arranged in 8 arms, 2 seats, and a simple screen inside. There's no steering wheel, no pedals, no throttle. You sit down, the route is already programmed, and the thing just goes. It takes off vertically. No runway, no taxiing, no pre-flight checklist for the passenger. It climbs, it navigates, it descends, and it lands, all on its own. The passenger's only real job is to enjoy the view and, if something goes wrong, press a button to talk to the operators on the ground. Now here's where most people expect the catch. Surely something this futuristic must be experimental, right? Still in the testing phase? Being trialed by a handful of engineers in a closed facility somewhere? No. In October 2023, China's Civil Aviation Administration issued the EH216S, the world's first type certificate for an autonomous passenger-carrying aircraft. That means a national aviation authority looked at this machine, put it through rigorous safety standards, and officially said, yes, this is fit to carry humans. No country had ever done that for a pilotless passenger vehicle before. And then, in early 2025, EHang went a step further. It received the world's first air operator certificates for a pilotless electric aircraft, meaning it could officially start commercial operations, paying customers, real flights, real cities. The machine that looked like the future had just become the present. Before getting that certification, EHang completed over 40,000 test flights. That number is worth sitting with. 40,000. That's not a prototype. That's a machine they absolutely know works. What it's actually like to ride one. Here's what's fascinating about the inside of this aircraft. It's almost deliberately simple. You're not surrounded by dials and instruments like a traditional cockpit. There are 2 seats, a navigation screen showing your route, a communication button, a small fire extinguisher tucked to one side. That simplicity is intentional. EHang's argument is that removing the human pilot doesn't just cut costs, it makes the aircraft safer. Human error is one of the leading causes of aviation accidents globally. When you take the human out of the loop entirely and replace them with automated systems that don't get tired, distracted, or panicked, you're potentially building something more reliable than anything with a person at the controls. The aircraft can reach speeds of up to 90 kilometers per hour and cover a range of 130 kilometers on a single charge. For comparison, that range is roughly the distance from one major city district to another, more than enough for an urban commute or a scenic tourist flight. At the moment, EHang's biggest customers are tourism operators. Think breathtaking aerial views over scenic landscapes, along with government agencies, using the aircraft for firefighting, surveillance, and law enforcement patrols. These aren't fringe applications. They're foundational use cases that are already generating revenue and proving out the technology in real-world conditions. But tourism and policing are just the beginning. The broader vision, the one that the Chinese government is actively funding and planning around, is to make this a daily mode of transport. An air taxi network woven into the fabric of city life. Think of it like a rideshare app, but instead of a car showing up, a silent pod descends from the sky, picks you up, and drops you off 3 kilometers away in under 5 minutes. That sounds wild, but the infrastructure planning is already underway. The government has entered the chat. This is the part that makes China's flying car story different from every other flying car story you've ever heard. Startups around the world have been promising flying cars for decades. Companies in the United States, Europe, and Japan have unveiled stunning concept vehicles, raised billions in funding, and generated enormous press coverage. Some of them have made real progress, but almost all of them are still waiting for regulatory approval, waiting for infrastructure, waiting for public acceptance, waiting for someone to say, yes, you can do this. China skipped most of that waiting. In 2024, the government officially wrote the low-altitude economy into its annual National Work Report, labeling it a new growth engine alongside electric vehicles and renewable energy. When the Chinese government puts something in the National Work Report, it doesn't just mean they like the idea. It means policies will be shaped around it. Local governments will be evaluated on supporting it, and state-backed investment will flow toward it. The low-altitude economy refers to all commercial and civilian activity happening below 1,000 meters. That includes drones delivering packages, helicopters doing medical transport, and yes, autonomous air taxis carrying passengers. The entire ecosystem is being developed simultaneously. Not just the vehicles, but the regulations, the airspace management systems, the landing infrastructure, and the public communication networks needed to coordinate it all. By 2025, there were roughly 57,000 companies operating in this sector across China. The Civil Aviation Administration is processing certifications, city governments are building vertiports and landing pads, and the national economic target for the sector sits at 1.5 trillion yuan for 2025 alone, rising to 3.5 trillion by 2035. What you're witnessing isn't just a cool gadget getting popular. It's a coordinated industrial strategy, and it's already in motion. But wait, there's another one. Here's where it gets genuinely unexpected. Because the EHang air taxi, remarkable as it is, isn't the only flying vehicle making headlines in China. There's a second company with an entirely different approach, and their solution is almost philosophically opposite. The company is called Airage, and it's affiliated with XPeng, one of China's leading electric vehicle manufacturers. Their product is something they call the land aircraft carrier, and the name alone should give you a hint about how ambitious this thing is. Picture a large, sleek, 6-wheeled van, a proper road vehicle that you can drive anywhere a car can go, to a parking lot, a campsite, a scenic hillside, but hidden inside the rear of that van is a compact flying module. When you want to take to the sky, the rear of the van opens, the flying module extends out, and you lift off from wherever you happen to be parked. The driving stick inside controls both the van and, with training that the company says takes less than 5 minutes to master, the aircraft as well. When you land, the module folds back into the van. You drive home. You park it in your normal parking space. You charge everything overnight using the van's own onboard power system, which can recharge the flying module for up to 6 full flights. What AirEdge has essentially designed is a solution to the infrastructure problem that has haunted flying vehicle concepts for years. You don't need a network of vertiports. You don't need dedicated landing pads. You don't need a special license beyond a standard driving license. The ground vehicle becomes the infrastructure, and the range? The van itself can travel over 1,000 kilometers. Combined with 6 recharging cycles for the flying module, you could theoretically drive a long distance, fly over a stretch that isn't road accessible, land, fold everything back up, and keep driving. It's a vehicle built for a world where roads and skies are equally navigable. Now, the price. One of these will set you back somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. That's not a mass market product, not yet. The first units rolled off the production line in Guangzhou in late 2025, with around 7,000 pre-orders already placed. CAAC certification is still being finalized, with deliveries targeting late 2026. But here's the thing about technology pricing. It never stays where it starts. The first smartphones cost a small fortune. Electric vehicles were once luxury items. Scale, competition, and manufacturing efficiency have a way of making the extraordinary affordable over time. The land aircraft carrier is today's premium product, but it's already showing us what tomorrow's mainstream might look like. Why this change is more than just getting around. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, this is impressive, but it's still just a fancy transport option for wealthy tourists and government agencies. What does this actually change for regular people? The answer sits in the architecture of cities themselves. Urban traffic is one of the defining problems of the 21st century. Cities that were built for walking or for horses were retrofitted for cars. Then they were expanded, widened, and layered with flyovers and underpasses and ring roads, and the traffic got worse anyway. Every city planner knows the uncomfortable truth. You can't build your way out of congestion on the ground. Every new road generates new demand that fills it right back up. The sky has no such problem. Airspace above cities is, right now, almost entirely unused below 1,000 meters. There are no traffic jams at 300 meters altitude. There are no potholes. There are no traffic lights. Low-altitude vehicles change the geometry of urban movement entirely. A journey that takes 45 minutes in stop-and-go traffic could take under 10 minutes by air. Emergency services could reach any point in a city within minutes regardless of ground conditions. Medical evacuations, firefighting, real-time surveillance, these things improve across the board when the airspace is utilized. And for rural and mountainous regions, of which China has an enormous amount, the implications are even bigger. Communities that are hours from a hospital or a market by road could become minutes away by air. The access gap between urban and rural populations, which has defined economic inequality for generations, starts to narrow in ways that roads alone never could. This isn't just transport innovation. It's infrastructure that rethinks what proximity means. The sky is no longer the limit. There's a moment in that Al Jazeera report where the journalist, sitting in the Ehang air taxi without a pilot, says something honest and human. "I'm not going to look down." And then, almost immediately, "Am I going to look down?" That reaction captures something important, because for all the statistics and policy targets and market projections, the most significant thing about what's happening in China right now is the psychological shift it represents. Flying has been, for most of human history, something that required extraordinary machines, extensive training, and enormous infrastructure. It was the domain of specialists. What autonomous electric air vehicles are doing, slowly, then suddenly, is turning flight into something ordinary, something you could order on your phone, something a tourist can experience on a weekend trip, something that governments can use to coordinate emergency response without a trained pilot on standby. The technology to fly without a pilot, without a runway, and without a conventional fuel source already exists. The regulatory framework to do it commercially already exists in China. The market demand is building. The government investment is committed. The vehicles are being manufactured at scale. Other countries will get there too. The United States, the European Union, South Korea, and others all have active programs pursuing similar certifications and similar visions. But China has a head start that matters. It has proof. Not a prototype, not a concept, not a rendering. An actual certified flying taxi that has completed over 40,000 test flights and is now carrying real passengers in real cities. The future, famously, is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. But when it comes to low-altitude flight, China just moved the distribution considerably further along. The question now isn't whether flying cars become part of daily life, it's how quickly and which cities will lead the way. And as the journalist said at the end of that flight, touching back down on solid ground, grinning and a little breathless. We did it. If this blew your mind even a little, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this is the kind of story we're going to keep tracking as it unfolds. And I want to know what you think. Would you step into a pilotless flying taxi right now? Or do you need a few more years before you trust the machine? Drop your answer in the comments below.